The next guy I'm going to bring up, be careful how I introduce him, because when you hear him talk, I feel like half my brain has been fried when I'm talking with him. Not because he has an Australian accent, because he's wicked smart. And when you see the stuff that he's working on and stuff that he's created, for those of you who were last year, you kind of got he's creating this software called LeadsHook. And I'm a firm believer that everything is about data, segmentation, and how granular you can get with the data, because all of that stuff leads into amazing stuff like artificial intelligence and all of that stuff. So he's going to talk about lead generation, but not just any lead generation, but rather high yield lead generation. Not so you're making like, $1 per lead or $2 per lead or we're talking like $50, $100, $200, $300, thousands of dollars per lead. And that all comes down to the quality of the lead. So I'm going to bring Nick on. Nick Thakkerlal, and he is going to talk about high yield lead generation.
That's a welcome. Dude, I'm like shaking the place.
It's already starting.
Sauron is here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Awesome. Right, who here knows the value? Oh, sorry, ticker, man. Which is this one?
No.
Is that?
Right here.
Sorry. What does it? Okay. Right. Who here knows the value of their business? Because that's, okay, one guy, smart ass. Put your hand down. Okay, that's the whole point of doing the kind of lead generation that I'm going to be talking about today. All I care about is, can I sell this thing? Okay, I don't care about anything else. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. The reason for that is because my background's in banking. So if you have, let's say you have $1 million invested in your business. Firstly, let's say if you're making $100,000 a year, you might say like, oh, that's not a bad sum. But what if I say that I've invested $1 million to make 100,000? Then like, well, okay, that's a 10% ROI. But what if I had $2 million invested to make 100,000? All of a sudden, that 100,000 doesn't look very profitable because you've just wasted a lot of your money which you could have done a similar return just putting it in the bank. Okay, so it's very important that your ROI that you get, so your returns or the dollar value here, the profit I made or the revenue I've made, is sort of irrelevant without understanding what you've put in to generate that. Okay, so that's all we care about, ROI. All right. The aim of marketing is to understand the customer so well that the product or service fits him and sells itself. Peter Drucker, one of my favorite quotes in marketing. This quote has resulted in what I do now in lead generation, which is the hard and the soft. The soft is the psychological stuff, persuasion, the sort of soft elements of our marketing. The hard, meaning the data that we collect. So I like to do both with all the campaigns. Now, this is something I'm playing with. I had about 200 newbies join up to LeadsHook, which is a software that I have. I just wanted to see, can a newbie use this kind of technology? And they really struggled in a few areas. So I did a deep survey with them. I did a few one-on-one interviews. And I learned that there's 8 factors that determine whether you are going to be any good at lead generation at high volumes. So they're basically scale mindset, your ability to understand persuasion, analytics, marketing, traffic, systems, people. And that's the most important one, actually, I think, is people and the technical aspect of marketing. Now, if you go to that page there, which is leadshook.com/Goha, it actually takes you through the 5 questions per capability. So these are like the 8 capabilities of lead gen. It takes you through 5 questions per capability. You can do it now or you can do it later. It doesn't matter. But when you do, it'll create that chart for you dynamically, which is exactly what the software does. It's designed to dynamically generate content on the fly based on the input you're giving it. Okay. Okay, so how did all this come about? I bought a hair care product about 3-4 years ago, and I had a hard time selling it. So I contacted a trichologist. They're kind of like this hair experts. And the lady used to work for Procter & Gamble. And so I said, all right, if someone came to you for a consult, what would you ask her? So she went through and she gave me this map. And it goes over 4 pages. So I said, all right, how do you implement that? That looks like a quiz, but it's actually a decision tree. It's this path going all over the place. And to cut a long story short, I was able to implement that at great cost, about 10 grand and about 8 weeks of my life. And every time you made a change, you had to retest everything again because there's so many paths in it. So you want to make sure you didn't break anything. So which gave me the data that I needed to work out how to sell this product. And that's what I want to cover next now is that when you get data, you want to deconstruct it. You want to take whatever your returns are or any kind of ROI that you're getting and you start splitting it up into component parts. So in this case, I've got customer lifetime value at the bottom box, which is made up of customer lifetime revenue minus customer acquisition cost. And if you follow customer lifetime value, it breaks up into its component pieces, which is monthly revenue, a contribution margin, and customer life. And if you go further, you get the churn rate, and you can keep kind of layering, keep splitting it up until you get a whole model of the return on your investment and the valuation of your business is comprised of a deconstruction. Then every month, or every day, or every quarter, or every second, you can actually analyze that. So every month to month, I can work out where in my business I did not get performance, or where did the performance change. So you have, at a very granular level, you start working out what's happening in the business. Now the one I want to focus on is customer life, because that's the one that a lot of people don't focus on. All right. Okay, so this is rates of decay. I've just graphed 3 different rates of decay of trust, or how we lose our leads or customers in the funnel in funnels. And we've got the one I focus on is the red one, which is we're losing decay by 5%. So almost like every month we're losing 5%. And the other one is that the purple one is 30%. So as you can see that just by moving the rates of decay or how fast we're burning our lists, you can extend the life of the customer in your funnel. And unfortunately, there's too much focus on just dollar value up front rather than keeping the guy in the funnel for weeks or months or even years. I was in a consumer products business for a while where we had customer lifetime value of up to 20 years. So weeks and months is kind of like disgraceful, actually. So once again, I get it. In the online world, you may not get those kind of lifetime values, but we need to focus on how do we do something to extend the life of our customer in our funnel. Right, so increasing list value. How many can measure customer life in years? How fast are we burning our list? Let's assume that we make less upfront, and now let's increase the customer life from 3 months to 1 year. And so obviously there's a massive effects on how hard you work, because if a customer's going to hang around for longer, you do less lead gen, you don't have a leaky bucket. Okay, understanding? Okay, now let's slow down for a bigger payoff. I like to start really slow so I can maximize much bigger later. So we've got fast and slow, monthly revenue. If I decrease it by 25%, if I increase my customer life from 3 to 12, I get an increase in my customer lifetime revenue by over 2 times, or 200%. Okay, examples. Working in the debt market in Sydney, I'm working with a bunch of guys. They're paying about $1,000 a lead. So what I do here is I capture the lead and I nurture them until they're ready to be passed on to the person who's going to sell them on the phone. I don't pass them over until so there's no just name an email and just move them along. I nurture them with email and make sure that they have triggered a few data points before I push them over through to the person who's going to be buying them off me. In the health market, I was doing CPA back in the days. That's what I learned from Goha in the early days. Did CPA marketing, and then I would survey the guys that I sent over to the offer and said, how did it go? And they tell me nightmare stories like I can't get these guys off my credit card. And so that's when I decided that direct deals was probably a better way to go, because there are companies out there who are not in the CPA world but sell a similar product. So you approach them, and now what happened was that they would give me a seat at the table, basically. Because I'd have a direct feedback loop after I send them the lead, and they'd come back to me saying, well, this worked, this didn't work, you can change the offer, and it was a much nicer way to have all of a sudden, I didn't burn the list. I could keep mailing the lists for weeks and months, actually. All right, so it's all about knowing when to slow down. Don't sell until they're ready. So courting and not just going for the one-night stand. And now we'll turn to Gene Schwartz shortly for some help. All right, so payoff. This is a business that I worked in. This is the return on invested capital. This is debt and equity in the business. It went from 3.3% to over 50% ROI. So if you had $10 million invested, you make $5 million a year. And that's the kind of payoffs you can get if you can make your yield, if you can have your lead or your customer stay in your funnel for many, many weeks and months on end. Is this okay? Cool? Good info? All right. Let's move on to generating the data now. How do we get this data? So I call them decision trees. And what do they look like? Okay, so first the results. You can get like 50% opt-in, 60% opt-in, 30%, that's the debt market, 30% opt-in. But here's what you get. All right, so I know that's not very clear, but as you can see, you can have a person going down, flaring out in all kinds of directions. There's all sorts of questions being asked. And as they're moving through each question, I'm also pushing into Facebook standard events for page view. I'm actually pushing custom fields into standard events, which I'm pushing into Facebook. So now Facebook is building a rich set of events for me. And the reason why I'm doing that, because once again, I'm willing to play the long game here. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 8 weeks from now, you will have a whole bunch of data points that Facebook is capturing for you. But now you know what your customers look like, that you can go back and do lookalike audiences on those nice set of events that you got sitting in Facebook. But I'll cover that shortly as well. Okay, that's another one. This one here, after the first few questions, it fans out quite wide. Everyone's getting totally different experience, a different question. They get a dynamically generated lead magnet, which is the whole point, and then they everybody goes back into the same list. But they're all being tagged differently. All sorts of different custom fields have been taken care of. All right, that's another one. This one here, a simple funnel. Go through, we've got some dynamic content being generated in the middle there, and it's going into about 11 different lists. So same person coming down the funnel, based on the questions and answers you're asking, you're putting them into 11 or 12 different lists. All right, so why does this work? Because we deliver an interactive experience that engages, personalizes, and dynamically generates tailor-made results, solutions, and answers. It's all about being dynamic. And it's hard to rip off. So I just want to share something. For example, this one here, unless you're willing to go down every path and you can understand what dynamic content is being generated once they get to your results page, lead magnet, thank you page, whatever you want to call it, there is no way for you to rip it off, actually, because you'll never know what the other guy is doing. In fact, I did one for Michael Gerber's book launch. We had about 15,000 permutations, combinations sitting in there, and the guy ripped off one. Okay. So how to uncover hidden markets? So firstly, how many unique paths? The first one that I showed you about the hair market, I had one question for, the first one was a multiple choice question. You had 4 answers. What is your natural hair type? Straight, curly, kinky, and something else, I can't remember, anyway, 4. And then I had a checkbox question with 5 choices. The difference between the two, multiple choice, you can only pick one. Checkbox, you can pick more than one. So, or none, all, some, many. And so what you find is that if you have 5 answers or 5 choices on the checkbox question, you have 2 to the power of 5 combinations. But if you have 2 of those, and all of a sudden you have 4,096 paths through 3 questions. What does each path represent? A market segment. So I track that each path and seeing what kind of revenue or profitability I'm getting from that path. All right, so a post-hoc or a priori versus post-hoc market segmentation, the geekiest slide here. Basically, post-hoc, a priori is the kind of market research you normally do. You go top-down in, you try and understand what's happening in the market. Post-hoc is basically you go bottom-up. You let your market walk through your funnel in whatever way they want, and you're just observing to see where they're going, and then you devise your market segmentation strategies afterwards. Okay, and that's the approach that a decision tree allows you to do because it's extremely flexible. All right, but beware of the type 2 error, which you normally get with the a priori version. You can get lots of false negatives. So basically, it's a market that exists, but you don't detect it, or you falsely identify it as a negative result. What that basically is I looked at the market. I don't think there's any money to be made here because I couldn't find competitors in it or I couldn't find something in it, but there was one there. Okay, and so this is why you want to go a priori and post hoc to make sure you don't miss the opportunities. And because the greatest cost of a false negative is that you'll never know you missed it because it didn't show up anywhere. All right, how decision trees help uncover hidden markets. It's a pick-your-own journey type of a decision tree that reveals clusters of profitability. I believe, and have always believed, that there's multiple customer avatars in every market. So let's just assume wine for a second. If you were to buy wine to cook with, you may buy it for $5. You're taking it for a family barbecue, you may pay $20. You're giving it to impress Goha, it's $600. Not that he drinks, but if he was, that's what you'd give him. All right, so we're removing our assumptions and our lack of understanding from the whole point. That's what I always assume, that I don't know my market. And so I don't want to make the mistake of thinking I know my market. And more importantly, the real world is much more complex. For neat, nicely validated results, tinkering and traction is far better at revealing and at capitalizing on opportunities. All right, ways to deliver individualization, which is the whole point of doing this. The applications that we have, things that look like quizzes, assessments, calculators, personality profiling. If you go through the one that I just shared, which is LeadsHook.com/Goha, that one is more of a personality profiling. That one there is particularly powerful because it tells me where you need to be and where you are on each of the 8 factors. Now I can do very specific autoresponder sequences to move you along and then sell you the product. And dynamic reports. All right, so the first thing I do when I look at any project, once again, I don't want to drink from a fire hydrant here, so don't have to do all of it, but do whatever you want to do. Okay? So firstly, the customer magnet. I want to look at their thoughts, feelings, desires. Collective's interesting is where, what are the familial, social, kind of family considerations around our customer? You know, will they do this for their family rather than for themselves? So for example, you get a guy who is overweight, won't do anything, has a kid, gets on a weight loss program because he wants to live not for himself, but for his daughter or son. Circumstances is the prospect's needs only arise at specific times or moments in life. For example, you know, new birth, divorce, death, that sort of thing. And then the attributes, which is normally what we focus on, which is the whole demographic, psychographic kind of data. And then the beliefs about the person. Right, now beware of the limits of research. I just want to, results from surveys can be inconsistent. We have marketer's bias. I've bought into the product, into the market so much that my view will creep into the questions I ask. As a result, I'm only looking to validate what I already know, what I have already kind of confirmed for myself. So I just want to be careful of that. Response bias. People who respond are different to people who buy. That can be a source of bias. So the people who've taken your survey don't necessarily buy from you. And the last one is sampling error, and it's because whoever you've sampled is a very poor representation of the market, and you can see that with the U.S. elections where Hillary was supposed to win by a 99% margin. All right, so the answer: the holy grail of marketing does not exist, and you become an options trader. Take many small bets versus one big one. Right, feedback, review feedback and comments. The usual stuff, go to Amazon.com, shopping sites, blog posts, track everything into keyhole.co or mention.com, where basically you can just set up your triggers of what you're trying to track, and it'll start building a very large reservoir of feedback and comments that are being made around whatever you're trying to market research. So the action step there is you want to get out your benefits desired or attained, the frustrations and problems experienced, the feelings expressed, and that way we can make far better marketing. All right, this is from Gary Halbert. He used to call it the inventory of interesting facts. So whenever you're researching the market, you'll run into these weird sort of things about the market. So for example, in the hair market, I discovered that it's the pH level of the water that dictates how beautiful hair is. Right? And you don't see that on any product label. So I build campaigns around the simple thing that's in your home that is ruining your hair, that kind of angle on it. So an interesting fact, most psychological research cannot be replicated. Another interesting fact is that if you're in the relationship market, Chile has the lowest rate and Belgium has the highest rate of divorce. And these are basically facts that you can use through which to open the conversation with. Like why aren't Chileans, why do Chileans have longer relationships than everybody else or something? All right, not everything you're going to run into is going to be in a statement. Sometimes it looks like in the form of a chart. That one there is Nicolas Cage movies and people drowning. All right, it's a very high correlation, but it's obviously garbage. But you can use that. All right, so I like to collect this interesting nonsense stuff and then use that as in the copy. All right, populate the customer magnet. I take all the interesting facts and issues that I found, I put in the left-hand column, and I go across to all of the 7 attributes or things about the customer magnet and see which one of those are relevant for each fact. Okay, so this, just by doing this one little table, you get a very good understanding about what your market's all about. All right, also, there's no need to always call them quizzes. You can call them any number of words. I've got a case study, I've got cheat sheets, you've got courses, you've got how-tos, you've got lessons, you've got assessments. Quotes, proposal, type, valuation, summary. Kind of don't be limited by just always calling it a quiz. Because in your market, if, let's say for example, if you want to do, let's say for example, you're trying to do a fat loss quiz versus a fat loss assessment. I don't know which one's going to do better, but it's worth testing that maybe an assessment may be more realistic. Okay, what elements to include in your lead magnet? Personalization. Take the name, give it back to them. You can have charts. You can have calculations. You can have individualization. So this is bits of content that you collect along the way, which you put into your dynamically generated content. And a great lead magnet has a clear-cut, built-in unique superiority supported by powerful proof elements, which is basically the USP of your lead magnet. Okay, small amount of content gets more engagement. Yelling won't help. Lead magnets that get shared. All right, so that's a chart. It shows that 5% of content that you're going to produce gets 90% of the engagement. So I only produce the 5% that is going to get engagement, which is all dynamically generated. So I actually produce very little, but I want to make sure that it gets shared a lot. In fact, one of the campaigns I worked on, we had about a 60% opt-in rate and about 40% of the people shared it. So very soon you can turn off all your traffic, actually, your paid traffic. All right, trust your gut. This one's very important. Not everything's about data. Research by Good Geigeranzer. They've coming up with stuff that heuristics and rules that we've worked out along the way can outdo the best analytical thinking and big data. So for example, someone like, if some of you have been in the market for a while, you already have these rules that you are applying every time you want to do something in your business, but you don't know you have those rules. And that will sometimes outdo the best analytical thinking. So the point here is that as an options trader, you want to trust the data, but if you have a hunch, test that out as well. Okay? Don't leave your hunches behind. All right, crazy ideas do work. There's a link to an article that'll take you down a rabbit hole if you want to go down. Instinct can beat analytical thinking. All right, understanding the grid. All right, this is from Gene Schwartz. I'm awfully lazy. I look for shortcuts in everything I do. So when I ran into this book, I was like, wow, he's already done all the work for us, which is the state of product awareness. You have 5 levels. And then you have the state of market sophistication. You have 5 levels there. Product awareness is, do they know your product? All the way from none to yes, they know. Market sophistication is, how exposed are they to marketing? And so, for example, to give an example, for market sophistication, for fat loss, yeah, pretty much everyone's going to be around about the exhausted phase. But for do I want to go to Mars, there's probably no exhaustion there yet. All right, so actions and behaviors leave clues. Oops, sorry. This is kind of like a customer journey thing that you've probably all seen. Just trying to understand here is that behavior tells us where people are in our journey. So if you're finding that someone is not downloading a free report, you keep hitting them with stuff that keeps going back to the free report rather than moving them along to a sales page. Well, they haven't taken the early steps yet, so they're not ready. All right, so this is something that Gene Schwartz didn't do, but I did. I don't know if there's a smart thing to do or not. I basically realized that, well, you could actually turn it into a 5x5 grid, and you can start mapping out where people are in the grid. So all sales occur after product awareness, obviously, but you can nurture people towards the sale, and you're building trust and relationship along the way as you nurture them. So understanding where they sit is extremely important. All right, so where are your customers? That's the massive untapped opportunity. I was talking to a bunch of guys at a mastermind not so long ago. They spend about 10 million a year on Facebook ads. They go direct from ad to a sales page. It's a 1% conversion. And I said, what do you do with the other 99? And they said, nothing. I said, ouch. All right, 6 great leads that work. This is from a book called Great Leads. Agora guys, I think they're Agora guys, Michael Masterson, John Ford, Tom Ford, whatever his name is. Anyway, they worked out that there was only 6 different types of leads. By leads, I mean not people leads, but like copy leads, the beginning part of any pitch or any offer or any sales page that we write. Is basically, there's only 6 types. There's offer, promise, problem, solution, secret, a proclamation, and a story. They all have applications at certain stages of market sophistication and product awareness. So I built a maths model that worked out how to do it. I won't have details on how to go into that, but anyway, I worked out that based on where someone is in the grid, I can actually hit them only with that type of an archetype. So don't give the wrong kind of pitch to the wrong person. And then I said, you know what, that's still not good enough, because it doesn't quite tell me what to say yet. It just says, well, this is the general approach. What do I do next? All right, so then I used Victor Schwab. He worked out that people have 4 different categories: what they want to gain, what they want to save, what they want to be, and what they want to do. I said, great, thank you, Victor, I'll take that. So then what I do is I combine all of them together, and I ideate which grids, where in the grid they are, what this person looks like, and then what appeals would work best, and that's how I come up with all my ads and all my copy. Any questions? All right. Okay, creating the pitch of your decision tree. BuzzSumo got the most shared content, and I said, that's an interesting list. If you notice something, that's what you use to position. These are the ones that I've worked with. They worked really well. What is your entrepreneur IQ? What is your social media score? What's your secret power? Can you turn on your rapid profit switch? What's common among all of these is, if someone's done NLP here, anyone done neuro-linguistic programming? Yeah, all right. What are they? Pretty simple. Presuppositions. All of them. How many money mistakes can you pick? This is the one that I helped a guy with the AdWords agency. People who complain about AdWords are usually surprised at how easily they're able to bump their conversions. They're all presuppositions. So presuppositions, I've found, generically work in every market. Okay. And now, ensuring congruency, make sure that you're congruent because sorry, let me just go through this again. Because you've done all the work here, you already know what you're going to say throughout the entire funnel. So just make sure that you have congruency about that, from your ad all the way through to your consumption of the product. Oops. USP has 3 components. It creates value, promises to do something that's different to what your prospect has heard before, and decision trees target your customer's core desire. It's a desire they already must have had. Now, you've already uncovered all this because you've done the work before. And this is basically the 3 components of a USP as per Rosser Reeves. Right, so why does this work? Because you find market segments that most will never know exist. You're tracking lifetime value. And you can do something called funnel inverting. I'll cover that next. Okay, what is funnel inverting? Okay, we've all seen the normal funnel, which is you have an opt-in form that gets you leads, you have an offer or checkout that gets you a customer, and then you basically sell them a whole bunch of stuff, a few more than once, and they become a real customer because they've bought from you more than once. If you flip that around, you have a real customer. Now you go back through your funnel. So you're looking at sales and revenue data, you're looking at the decision tree data, which is all the questions and answers they've given you, and also your traffic data. Now, if you do a simple pivot table or something of that sort, you can very quickly work out where majority of your sales is coming from. That allows you to then turn off every traffic source that is not profitable. And in most cases, you will take out about anywhere from 60 to 80% of your traffic without sacrificing a single dollar in sales. But now, you're also using your decision tree data, not just your traffic data and revenue data. So you're actually taking out much more. And gives you a feedback loop of what is the next round of campaigns you can be running. Right? The decision tree boosters, what can you do to make, so one of the things I found is that as you saw earlier, some of these decision trees have, 10, 15, 20 questions. I've got a client, he's got 27 questions and he gets a 60% opt-in on cold traffic. So most people are like, well, how on earth is someone gonna, why would someone go through this? And it's because it's the way it's been positioned, but also inside the decision tree, you're using something called paraphrasing, which is every subsequent question, you take data you've collected in the previous question, you give it back to them. So you're saying, hey, hi, I'm Nick, what's your name? Oh, I'm John. Oh, hi, John. Are you a man or a woman? And then the next question will be, well, as a guy, blah, 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 blah. And so every question as they're going down your decision tree, you're regurgitating whatever they've given you in all the previous questions. And if you do that, the likelihood of jumping out of a 25 question quiz or a 25 question decision tree is going to be extremely hard. And and along the way, you also use, we have custom images, custom videos for congruency. So if you say I'm a girl, you can change the background to pink or have an image of a female or whatever. If someone says, they're more a greenie or something, you can start changing the colors to green. So you're not only personalizing just with their names and stuff, but you're also personalizing with the whole imagery. Length is not relevant if the pitch is good. It's a whole argument about the long copy, short copy. Like there's only boring copy. There's no long copy, short copy. And subliminal elements, if someone is 40 and female, then you can start using languaging as well. So if someone is 40 and a female, you can say, you probably have commitments. Like the whole cold reading thing, right? That will apply for everybody, actually. But it feels like it applies to them only. All right, so implement your creativity. Don't let the software limit your creativity. You are operating in a nonlinear domain, so don't let someone's method, formula, process, or system limit you. In a nonlinear system, it's not about finding things that work, but it's about finding things that don't work because of the infinite possibilities that we have. And the true cost is not implementing your creativity. All right, success is lumpy. So you're putting it all together. You can use decision trees to mine your data. You use dynamic microsegmentation to then take it to the next level. And you find undiscoverable markets, which gives you a higher and longer payoffs because your competitors don't know about them. You can run more experiments because you're more profitable quicker. You have a higher lifetime value. And all of a sudden, you just created a business that is worth buying. And that was the whole point of doing this. Okay, let's go. How do we access the online page?
You want to do a demonstration?
No, I just want to share the results of the one that I shared. Did anyone actually have their laptops go through it? The /go? No? All right, no, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Next. All right, so I'm going to go through some lead gen strategies. The first one is I was watching Kung Fu movies when I was making this, so that's why the names are the double decoy daisy chain. So here's what you do, is you ask the questions, you give a preliminary results page, which gives them a payoff and reciprocity, and then you basically go for a second round of questions, which is imagine how good I'd be able to give you the results or an outcome if you would answer a few more questions. And then you give the opt-in, and then you deliver the lead magnet. And what this does, it buys you, it allows you to get a payoff, you build the reciprocity, and you gain a bit of trust before you take them down a second route of questions. So it's a quick, easy payoff, and then more questions. The second one I cover is the zero opt-in form technique, which is you split across your nodes. So one of the things that I do is rather than having a form, you can ask a field in a question, and you split the whole thing, your form up across multiple questions rather than having one form. So for example, hi, I'm Nick, what's your name? They go, hey, I'm John. There you go, I've got the name. And it's saying, oh, you know what? There's a secret report that's going to come out, blah, 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 blah. Why don't you enter your email here? So they enter the email. So there's actually no form to give. You just go, you've already captured all the data you want about them. You go directly through to the end, and you give them your dynamically generated result. Okay, so that's what that one is. It's the zero. It's not zero, but I'm spreading it up across multiple questions. The no selling strategy, which is you give a bunch of questions. You don't have to give a form if you don't want to. You give them a results page, which basically dynamically generated the offer. Because that's the other thing you want to do is because if someone has said they've got wrinkles, then on the results page or your lead magnet, dynamically generates about wrinkles. It gives them it pre-frames the offer, and then you give them the offer. The whole thing's dynamic. If someone's 25, obviously you're not going to give them a wrinkle product because you've already asked the question about age. You don't have to give them an offer about wrinkles. You can give them about something else. The ultra personalization method, we've already covered that. It's cumulative paraphrasing as you're going into each subsequent question. The list enrichment. This is where you can pass the email address via the URL through to wherever you're going to do your quiz or your decision tree, and you can capture that directly into the email field. So when they go right to the end, you pass it all the data back out. And as a result, there's actually never any email asked for. And so these ones get almost 100%, up to 90 to 100% completion rates because there's no friction. And along the way, you can capture and pass all the other fields from the answers they've given you. The rapid phone method, where you enter an email, you trigger directly through to your phone. The micro permission method. This is where, because you're creating all these really tight niches, your email deliverability improves because you're no longer broadcasting 1 to 50,000. You can still do 50,000, but they're going to many sub-lists. And as a result, you can get open rates, 60%, 80% open rates on email. Okay. The Facebook avalanche method, which is what I explained earlier. You go through the decision tree without a form. You present a lead magnet, but you're adding all the customs fields inside a Facebook event, which you're pushing through to Facebook. Now, Facebook gets a dynamic, rich set of Facebook events, and then you remarket to a much tighter niche. So, for example, if I were to ask you, if you just landed on the site, well, what's your salary? You're probably not going to tell me. But after the third meeting, you may want to tell me that, or you feel comfortable enough to tell me that. And that's what this is what I've used in the debt market, where I don't ask them for any identifiable personal information up front, but I'm still tracking them because whatever information they've given me, I've pushed it through into a Facebook event, and then I'm running highly targeted remarketing. So for people with $500,000 can shave off their mortgage, and because they've already told me they have $500,000, it gets a very high click on the ad. Thank you page. You can present a decision tree or a quiz on your thank you page, and then based on the questions and answers that they've given you, you give them the relevant offers. You can do dynamic content presentation, which I've explained here. The product selector. I was working with an e-com guy who's like, people are really struggling with working out what product I should be buying. I said, beautiful. Give them a decision tree, make them go through that, and you dynamically generate what they should be buying by saying your recommended products. But along the way, you've captured a whole bunch of data about who they are, which is if they don't buy, you can still hit them second time around with email or through remarketing. A CPA offer, select a monetization paths. Bunch of questions, results page has an offer, more questions, results page has an offer, more questions, results page has an offer. Yes?
Who does this thing, the software or you?
I set up the software to do it. So both of us. All right, reviving dead lists. I've got a bunch of clients in Sydney. All they're doing is they're going to companies saying, do you have an email list that does not respond? And they basically use a decision tree in front of them to revive these lists. And they basically go 50-50 on they just do a rev share with the guy who owns the list. Really, really easy. Affiliates have used it. Advertisers have used it in product launches. And lastly, you can do these things with your imagination because it's so wide and open. You can drag and drop boxes wherever the hell you want. And that is the end. You go ahead and ask me to leave quite a bit of time for Q&A. So I'm happy to Q&A.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So with the personalized results at the end of the decision tree that the customer is getting, when you offer them the results, how do they feel that this machine figured out a personalized answer for them versus a human? So, for example, with something more soft, like I understand debt market, they put in, I have this much debt, I have this many assets, blah, blah, blah. Those are really hard numbers, so it's easier for a machine to spit out a personalized answer that seems credible. But with something more soft, like for example, in the dating niche, like you present them a list of questions about what are your circumstances, what problems are you having with the opposite sex, blah, blah, blah. So at the end of that, they want to get an answer that addresses who they are and what their problems are and the solutions to that. It's a much more mushy thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it doesn't work, but in my mind, I'm wondering.
Okay, I've got about 15 people in the dating relationship market using it.
Okay.
Yeah, so because what you can do is you can have entire paragraphs dynamically generate.
Okay.
So it's almost like word mail merge on steroids. Yeah. Now, the other way to do it, and here's what I think is the preferred method, is to say that our consultants are reviewing your results and we'll get back to you in 24 hours. So you can delay the delivery of your lead magnet.
The results?
Correct, absolutely. Okay. So you don't give it to them. And that sounds more credible, right?
Right.
Like
Excellent.
if I'm sitting with you and you just told me a whole bunch of stuff, I'm not sitting behind at my computer to give the answer back to you. So you can say, you know what? It's fine. Let's, I'll get back in 24 hours. You've given us a lot of information. Our,
coach is
virtual
looking,
whatever, relationship expert's going to review this and get back to you and answer in 24 hours. And you can just delay an email delivery in 24 hours.
Boom. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Cool. No problem, man. Anything else? Oh, no, not her. She has asked hard questions.
No, this is actually an easy one. I know that you have this all down. So from the integration with email, and you talk about pushing the events into Facebook ads, you're also pushing that into a CRM system, so
Correct.
you can use that for later segmentation?
Correct.
Do you have certain email systems that are easier to work with and pushing the information into for later?
Okay, so we have a client who ends up on US, like Good Morning America sort of a thing. And whenever they come, no ESP that we know can handle the load. So we throttle the leads into their systems. So for example, it's like 50 leads a second. And so it's really high volume. So there's no ESP that I've worked with so far that handles that. So in that case, we have built the capability to throttle so that you don't lose your leads. And so, yes, but for everybody else, we've worked with Aweber. We actually do native integrations. We don't use Zapier, purely because if you come to me and say, you know what, there's this weird feature sitting in ActiveCampaign that I want to use, I can deliver that. Zapier can't, because then someone has to have done it before.
Got it. And,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking of even just mapping it into custom fields with the customer record, so that you're capturing the information, the answers here that you can use for segmentation.
Yep.
Does your software help to automatically generate the custom fields to place into a store with a customer record?
Correct. No, so you create your own custom fields because we allow you to have as many custom fields as you want per question even. So for example, let's say if there's a gender question, you want to save gender in 10 different ways, like guy, gal, like sort of guy, gal, men, the plural and singular, dudette, bloke, Sheila, any number of variants. You can save as many as you want for every answer. So that way, you have this rich set of languages now available to be used in your autoresponder copy or even your dynamically generated content.
Got it. And I'm just thinking, I'm still maybe not asking right. setting up custom fields and custom integrations into things like Infusionsoft is really hard. You have having to go in, and typically if you're doing it within the Infusionsoft software. But I think LeadsHook actually helps with that.
Yeah, so here's what you do. If there's a custom field that you want to set up in Infusionsoft, you tick a button and you go auto create. And we'll API into Infusion, we create the field, we map it, and we say, here you go.
I love it. It's magic.
Cool. We even do tags, because you need tags in Infusion, right? Yeah. You can do as many tags. You can do tags for answers as well. So you can have a rich set of tags now sitting, which is pretty much the whole Facebook events thing. Similar way, similar thing. Any other?
Yes.
Yes.
What's your professional background?
I'm sorry?
What is your professional background?
Quantitative finance. Very nerdy. Yeah, Go has got all of it.
Yeah, I'll have a link for $6,000. You guys can get all the slides. No, I'm just joking. Yeah. For those of you who are concerned or are taking photos, you guys get all the slides. If you ever see, when I send you guys the recordings, you notice how there's a live presentation and then the slides? You guys are going to get all that. So don't worry about if you're missing anything.
Yeah, just focus on the experience of learning and kind of how you're going to use it. Don't get too concerned about capturing the info. You're going to get all that. Any other questions? Happy to.
Do you have any tutorial videos that go along with?
It's about 85 of them.
Okay, great.
Yeah. No, because I know that people come in at all sorts of levels. And so if you're a newbie and you want a bit more hand-holding, see, this is where everybody gets stuck, is that they don't focus enough on the technical aspect of implementing these things. And that's the most important part here, actually. Or get a team member that is extremely technical. Because, little errors, because I've seen WordPress plugins that ruin the whole thing, and they go, oh, your system doesn't work. And I'm like, oh. So I go in there and have a look, and it's like, no, it's the damn plugin.
So if you're finding that people are receptive to quizzes and that sort of thing, now you're taking quizzes to the next level, where you're able to do different decision trees, and your bottom line, in a nutshell, people are able to follow along, and they stick with it. And so you're able to generate. Yeah,
well, every market is different, so I'm not going to say that you're not going to find a market where quizzes just bomb or these things bomb.
Right.
Yeah, they may. But what I've found is that it's far more important not to worry about, because people say, well, how many questions should I? They're not relevant questions. The relevant question is, what is the value you're going to create here that is so compelling that you have no choice but to do it?
Right. Okay. I didn't notice if some of your questions get more involved, like for instance, the example he was using about dating. So do you do a scenario scene? So, for instance, maybe you have some rules of engagement in relationships. For instance, are you the type of guy who opens a door for a woman? And A, every time, B, sometimes, C, you don't really give a damn, and D, she can open her own damn door.
Equal rights, right? Open your goddamn door. You go on, yeah. So.
Okay, so you do this, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. You don't have to do everything in one step. That's the other thing. I was in a rush to bloody get everything done in one step. Don't. Right. Ask a very low threshold question, build a relationship, offer some value, get them on your list, go the second time round, go the third time round. Yeah, there's no need to rush.
Beautiful, look forward to it.
Any other?
Perfect. Can I keep you on the stage?
Sure.
So let me dumb down what he just presented for guys like myself. All right? Okay? And because basically everybody's got glazed looks on their eyes. I think that guy over there had actually a tear too. So I'm going to dumb it down, okay? Surveys and quizzes is the way it's going to go, all right? How many people here, put up your hand if you'd like to own Facebook. Put up your hand if you'd like to own Facebook, okay?
So this is what you're creating for yourself.
Yeah. Now, thanks for ruining the punchline.
Oh, sorry, man.
All right? Okay.
I'll take it back.
Okay. What is Facebook?
Data collection.
Damn, you guys are smart. Wicked smart. It's just a data company. He has brought the ability for you to build a data company right down to, you could do it from your bedroom. Like literally.
Okay, so my interest is actually to buy and sell businesses. I couldn't care about all this stuff. But you need this stuff to be able to buy and sell businesses. And so if you find partners So let's say, for example, you know someone who's got our e-com data, but you've got media buying data. That's a marriage made in heaven, if you know what to do with the data. Because you can 10x your business just by mashing data up. And that's the biggest opportunity right now in the online world. It's not the products and services being sold by anybody. It's this detailed data sets sitting in all these businesses. And if you just knew how to put them together, you'd 10x anything overnight. And in fact, no one's paying for that. That's valued at zero when you look at the P&L. If you try to value a business, and let's say you're doing $1 million a year, like, oh, we pay 3 times earnings, that data is not valued. But if you buy 3 of those and you mash it together, that's 10x.
So do you guys want to know how I think when he presents me with a model like this? So that'll kind of open your eyes to, one of the reasons why I moved off of Aweber was that they didn't give you the ability to really properly tag. It was still in beta. Now I know that they give you the ability to tag. But what if you had somebody in your list that had 500 different tags based on actions they've taken, based on things they've purchased, based on messages that they've read? How valuable would that information be for you as far as being able to segment a market? So Nick has been chasing me now, and I feel bad, for like a year and a half to use LeadsHook. But every time I went in, I go, okay, I don't have time. Anytime I put my staff in it, they'd be like, holy, what is this? I go, and Nick was like, you got to tell me this, because he's trying to bring this down and dumb down the interface so that anybody could do it. Because my guys would go in and they'd be like, holy crap, right? And then they go, okay, well, where's the training? And then they'd be like, oh, it's over here. And they go, how many videos? I go, I don't know, like 85. And they'd be, holy crap, right? So we're trying to streamline it. But one of the tests that we're going to be running with Nick, because I want to test the process and I want to see how it works. So, one of the things that Peter talked about yesterday, Peter Parks, was that he laughs at people who say, I'm going to create traffic. You don't create traffic. The traffic is already there. He talks about bending the web and getting that traffic. So, when you look at placements on Google Display Network, some of the most visited websites like AccuWeather or weather.com, they are so broad that selling to a broad audience is very difficult unless you can get the traffic for very cheap, and then whatever sliver of that traffic is related to your market or your vertical, then hopefully you could convert that. So one of the things I approached Nick with, I said to myself, what do people want in life? What is the thing that people want in life? Anybody?
Good health.
Security.
Why do you want security, Victoria?
I think that's the foundation to freedom. Knowing that bills are taken care of, relationship, health is okay.
Did you say freedom?
Yes.
Why do you want freedom?
Why do we want freedom? To do more stuff. Happiness. So lack of stress, lack of worry.
What did you just say?
Happiness.
Who said health? Peter, why do you want health?
Why do you want health? You want health so you can enjoy your life. You can share your life with your friends and your family.
But why would you want to enjoy your life?
So at the end, when it's your last day, you can die with a smile, right? You can live a happy, fulfilled life.
What did you just say? What did you just say?
Happiness.
What did you just say? So I sat there and I said to myself, what do people want at the end of the day? Happiness. Happiness.
Money, happiness.
But why do you want money? Why do you want money? To buy happiness. That's good. That's good. Send me to the webpage. Buy happiness. $79. Shipped out the door in one day. So with Nick's help, what we're going to do is we're going to run an experiment. He helped. Well, I didn't do anything. Nick knows it, and that's why he's frustrated with me. I always shovel it off to other people on my team.
He doesn't like money, clearly.
Yeah. We created a happiness quiz. Because at the end of the day, if that's what humans ideally want, it's not money, it's not health, it's not relationship, it's what those give you, and what is it what they give you? Happiness, right? So if we could run a happiness quiz and actually Nick was the one that helped Michael and David design it, I don't even know, but I think it backs into what, 4 quadrants? Whether it's you need help with your relationship. Yeah, it measures your relationships, measures your health, measures your money, and measures your, what's the 4th most important thing? Family. Family.
Yeah, I know, I could forget that.
Yeah, well, I thought that was covered under relationships, I don't know. So the idea here is when you start having people go through a very generic quiz like happiness, like, because I have the ability to go out there, like Peter Park said, and bend the web and get cheap traffic for like a penny, and if you could write a really good hook into why people should take a happiness quiz, like, are you happy? Are you happy with your wife? Or are you happy with your, like, you know, like kind of shock and awe them, they're forced to kind of take the quiz because like, oh yeah, am I happy or something? Or do you know how happy you are, your level of your happiness? We're still kind of working on the hook. You get them through the quiz, then you've segmented them into the 4 quadrants. And David, help me if I'm wrong. Are we asking age or gender or anything like that?
I don't think so.
No. So the interesting thing is, and you didn't mention this, unless I wasn't paying attention, the one person who created a quiz where you get 27 data points?
Yep.
20?
I did.
You did. And did you tell everybody the open rate?
Yes, 60%.
60.
62.
62%. So as we evolve through this process of setting people through this happy quiz and we start adding more data points such as age, such as gender, when you know by the end of the quiz that a female, 28, Caucasian, living in New York, is very happy with money but is not happy with relationships, we all know that the personal development market is huge. You can then segment that audience and promote personal development products to somebody who you know is not happy. And you can customize the message because you know she's a female, you know she's 28, and that's what LeadsHooks gives you the ability to do. If you know that somebody is happy with money, happy with relationships, but they're not happy with their health, and you start segmenting further, is it because they're not happy because they're overweight? Are they happy because they're diabetic? And when you start getting all of these data points, then you can promote the right supplement to them. And because you're targeting such a broad audience, and these things tend to go viral, right? Yeah. That's what you're looking for, is for the stuff to go viral. You stunned me when you told me some guy was putting what's the maximum amount of leads these days they're putting on LeadsHook? 10,000?
Yeah, about 10,000 in an hour.
In an hour? And this guy's biggest frustration is LeadsHooks can handle that, but no ESP can.
Because then the emails that are going through them are going about 3 hours later.
So you guys see the power in this?
Like we've broken API of every major ESP.
Because, and that's what Peter Parks is talking about, the traffic's out there. And a service like LeadsHooks and the ability that all you guys know how to get paid traffic, you can build a list really, 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 really fast.
In fact, that's the first thing we focused on, is the volume, because I kept, you know, I didn't want to build this, right? Like, only an idiot decides to do software. It's like, you know, giving a left testicle. And so because I kept breaking everything and nothing would scale. So and you don't have a business if your systems don't scale with your ability to scale. So that was the only reason why I made it, actually. Yeah. So the first thing we did was said, all right, let's look at all the back-end infrastructure stuff. Like how does Facebook work? And so we designed the back-end stuff. So now we're moving to the front end with the features and the sexy, you know, UI and all that sort of stuff. So it's a fairly ugly software, but it's built to work, rather than the other way around, where it's very pretty for you to look at, but then you run traffic and all of a sudden you're like, eh.
And that's what you want to do. I mean, I had success one time on a Google campaign because I was targeting such a broad international country. I was targeting India. And not many people target places like China or India. I was getting 1 cent clicks all day long. 1 cent click all day long. So how fast could you build an audience? I'm a firm believer of building the audience first and then getting the products to that market now that you've built it. So once you could do that, and you could do it cheap, and especially with something like a quiz or a survey that tend to go viral. Just a note, the most shared article on the New York Times and the most shared article on trying to think what it was.
Yeah, which part of the US you're from, right? That's the New York Times one.
What was the Oprah one? Oprah quiz was.
Oh, I can't remember that one.
What publication? I don't remember. But the most shared content in the history of the web are surveys and quizzes. Surveys and quizzes, man.
Yeah. The pitch of the survey and the quiz, though. Not just the survey and quiz per se. It's not the mechanical thing.
It's the hook.
The hook.
That gets them in.
Yeah.
Do you guys find that interesting? Mike?
How do you launch this? How do you launch this software, please?
How did I launch it?
No, how do we launch it if you want to buy it from you?
Oh, yeah. It's the LeadsHook.com/go will give you example of what it does, and then at the bottom there's a link to sign up.
Okay.
Hey, who's using surveys and quizzes in your business right now? 3? 3 people? Wow, 4. Okay.
Oh, is that a question?
No. You want to give him a mic?
Could we build a product with this? Because we sell a product that is a decision tree, basically.
You got it.
So, and to tell the truth, it broke the other day. So I don't want to hire somebody to fix it. Could we deliver a product through this?
In fact, that's one of the things we're working on now, where you can basically just have a checkout sitting in front of your dynamically generated content.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, sir.